Hi, I'm here with Olga Zawada and Andrzej Wojnarowski. Hello, guys.
Hi.
We are at UX Poland 2016 at Copernicus Science Center, and we're going to be talking about responsibility, the thing that the whole conference is revolving around this year. Tell me, guys, our main subject, responsibility in design, can have pretty broad understanding. What it means for you personally?
Well, I feel that, responsibility, we as designers, running projects for big corporate clients or any client for that matter, we should focus on obviously the user's needs and the business goals that we're trying to achieve, but we have a certain responsibility to deal with, And I feel that it comes a time that we need to consider a little bit more than, specific business KPIs that the, corporate identities give to us, like a conversion, like business goals that are actually monetary. There's a little bit more than that when it comes to responsibility. You have to create something that works. That changes somebody's life in a very meaningful and tangible way. If you get your hands as a designer on a project like that, I think that it's the best thing you can do. Because you're having a true, tangible impact on somebody's life, and that's the best way to do it. And partnering up with great orchestra, that's it's an amazing experience for us as a design consultancy because these guys, they have got the good factor paved into their core, and just being around them, kind of makes you feel a little bit different about what you want to do as a designer, what kind of goals you have, because they are not like those standard conversion rates and stuff like that. They are real things that you have to consider and real things that you have to deliver, and that's something that you cannot put a price on. And I feel that we as designers are responsible for that to happen. We just cannot walk by those issues, that happen, I don't know, in healthcare, and all the other sectors of the market that are not that financially bound. It's our responsibility to do something about it. If you see something that doesn't work, try to fix it. So I think that's the responsibility that we've got as designers, to partner up with identities like orchestras. The best way to do it.
That's truly inspiring, and I'm glad that we have people that have such orientation, such feeling of duty, I would say. But let's look at the opposite. I have this picture coming back in my head, like for example a vending machine in a school. So well designed, well functioning product that is going completely wrong direction because it meets certain goals, and those goals are just not influencing well the target group. Could you tell us something more about more complex cases like that you probably have met?
Complex cases? You mean like design issues that we had to solve?
Yeah, something, or maybe products that are product services. They are well designed, and yet they are not turning the
Well, to
right
be honest
direction.
with you, when I looked at the healthcare, when we looked at hospitals in Poland, specifically this hospital in Olsztyn that was chosen by the foundation, the Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity, to actually do something for Olsztyn Hospital, because they've got the most opened up heads when it comes to the top management of the hospital. The amazing thing for me was that me as a designer, dealing with a lot of issues, trying to on a daily basis, trying to solve those issues, I found that I was amazed that the hospital actually works. How complex it is, what a beast that is. How many people actually work there. How many outsourcing companies actually operate there as well, and that there is a handful of people running it, and that it actually works. So, in essence, I think that we're putting a lot of bad. We're saying a lot of bad things about our hospitals, but I think that they're working with what they've got, and they're doing a really good job at it when it comes, if you're actually there and looking at it, how complex that is. So I think that in essence, what I'm trying to say, I guess, that hospitals are a good product, if you like, but just needs a little bit of tweaking and just a change of perspective. They've got the knowledge, they've got their experience, they've got the expertise. All they need, I think, is just the change of a perspective. That they look at things different way. using the same, capabilities that they've got already. It's just a case of changing the perspective, looking from the patient's side onto every process that they're actually implementing every step of the way. And I think that should, that could cure a lot. So it's a good product, I think, but it's not that far from becoming a great one.
Yeah.
Olga, Andrzej said that, as I take it, that there are lots of people with knowledge and skills and experience of running huge institutions, but they could use slightly different perspective. And obviously, you at the Great Orchestra have the heart at the right place.
We have the heart, yeah.
And I know that from it's obvious from the very moment you started that you are, in fact, a human-centered entity, and you put human in the very core of everything you are doing. So that's probably the perspective that could improve humongously the kind of soulless system, to call it that way.
Yeah.
But how do you feel when the principle that you've been working from the very beginning is actually put into a firm methodology, and you meet people that professionally analyze things in a way that puts human in the middle?
I mean, I think it's absolutely wonderful that here we have people from all over the world who have the same idea of making things easier for the recipient, to make things more functional. We began in the analog time, 25 years ago. I don't know if, people who are 25 years old can vote, they can go out, etc., etc. But we were also the outsiders in the sort of a medical profession.
Yeah.
What you said, it's a huge, big factory of health.
Yeah.
People who run it, they have been doing it for ages and ages and ages, and sometimes they do lose the perspective. They want it to be efficient, they want it to be fast, but sometimes they sort of get stuck in a rut. We came from the outside, we offered help, and the way we offered help from the very beginning was not like, oh, here is a hospital, you shall need 70 beds and maybe 70 respirators. And they would go, no, we don't need 70 beds. And that's why we ask hospitals to ask us, because they're the experts in the field in a way. They know what they need. They know, I don't know, the manager of the hospital in Olsztyn, he knows exactly what he's missing from his
It's
ward.
actually a she.
Sorry, pardon me, excuse me.
It's amazing how much she actually knows what's happening at the very forefront of the action, downstairs. So it's definitely.
So we sort of a start, so to say, at the bottom, because it's a grassroots movement. It's people joining other people to help their friends, to help, almost everyone knows someone who used to volunteer in the Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity.
Yeah.
And I really hope that the people won't have to use the equipment that we buy for the hospitals, but they end up doing that. And, let's make this process as easy, as painless, and as, pleasant to use as possible, I think.
And on the other hand, when you say that everybody knows a volunteer from the orchestra, I was going to ask that question in the presentation. How many of you have an experience with a hospital? How many of you have ever been to a hospital? I don't really need to ask that question because there is just, a forest, if you like, of hands, because, everybody has had some sort of a relationship, at some point of their lives with a hospital. So I think that the volume of people, and the knowledge of what's happening is a good thing, and it needs to change. So definitely.
And it's absolutely brilliant. Coming back to your question, because I sort of went really far off. I think it's absolutely amazing to see that the things that we were actually doing, things that we were implementing in our own sort of a sphere, in our own environment, is actually something that other people think about too. It's quite, it's quite refreshing. And the fact that we can sort of use experience of other people, that we finally found the language in which we can sort of express those needs, usability, the tools, etc., not, those things to do the other thing, but to actually speak with some experts who have the background knowledge. It's amazing. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, hearing so many people with, in one hand, great insights, and in the other hand, in good intentions that are actually put to action. It's very inspiring, and I wonder how we will improve. I mean, there are so many new things appearing, or new applications for the technology that has been here for different purposes. We are hearing about the Internet of Things. We start seeing beacons here and there. Virtual reality becomes more present. I wonder what kind of applications you can see in your work for those new things. I wonder what you find potentially most useful.
Oh goodness, probably, obviously payments online when we're talking about the very practical thing, very practical side of our work. We need the funds to support the hospitals. And if you are not available in the country, if you cannot reach a volunteer, you can always donate online. And if it is made safe, if it is reliable, then, you know, all the best. Well done. You mentioned virtual reality. Apart from games, I think it can be used to train doctors as well. If we reach, you know, the imaginary level of them being able to perform operations in the virtual, you know, like pilots who pretend to fly while they train. So that would be absolutely mind-blowing, you know, chance to learn how to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've just imagined a doctor, you know, with a kind of a GoPro camera, like a heart surgeon, you know, the camera would actually look at what he's actually doing with his hands, and you know that would have a very immediate effect on somebody watching what he's actually doing. Well, with understanding, obviously, you know, of what he's doing, you know, to learn without interfering with his work in any way, you know. So it would be an invisible kind of, you know, translation of that knowledge into somebody else's, you know, mind. So, yeah. Yeah, but when you mentioned beacons, there's actually a company that we're partnering with for another hospital in Leipzig, in Germany. And they've developed a solution that uses beacons for internal navigation. So, because Leipzig Hospital is huge, I mean, Austin is small even in comparison. They've got several buildings, you know, and thousands and thousands of employees. Even the employees are getting lost in the infrastructure.
Okay.
So, what they have now, they are employing people called Lotse, and they're training there. It takes 3 months to train a person to understand the infrastructure of the entire hospital.
Wow.
To know
That's
where
massive.
the wards are and, you know, what buildings and what's where. So it takes 3 months for them. So what we're planning to do over there is basically implement a solution that technologically gets rid of all the clutter, because you don't need to look at the signs anymore. You've got that on your computer screen or on your application screen. And another great thing is that you don't need to download the app. It's not a native app. It's something that you have online in HTML. So there is no, you know, barrier for, you know, okay, now I have to download the app, you know, and worry about the conversion, blah, blah, blah. You just get a link and you know where you're heading, yeah? And the technology takes care of the rest. So there are solutions out there, and I think that we'll be seeing more and more of them, which is one thing. And I think that another thing is we're going to see more and more interactions, not between ourselves, but between the devices that we're actually carrying around. You know, you'll be able to not be a part of that conversation, you know, and they'll just, you know, your car will talk to your phone and back.
Yeah, and they will gossip about you. You know,
Absolutely,
oh, she's a really bad driver. I hate her.
Yeah, I'll tell you what she's actually said yesterday on Facebook, man.
About you.
Yeah, you're actually up in a, you know, on Allegro, you know, you're being sold, man. Crying car, you know?
Yeah.
It's coming, it's coming.
The things are gonna get more and more connected, and they will start plotting things. Okay, guys, I'm really happy that we are having you here at this conference. Thank you for talking to me, and stay tuned for more talks, and thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Enjoy.